Alright, so gonna be doing a video here on the installation of a set of carbon fiber side skirts that I picked up from XtremeSupercars in Palm Beach. They make a lot of carbon fiber bits for the Gen 5 cars. I'll show you a few others that we have on there. But these are a set of pieces that Dodge does not make, but Wayne over at Xtreme put together. And it's a very nice piece, molded really well, finished perfectly on what's going to be exposed, and obviously still got some, it's rough finish on what's going to be covered up, which is fine. But what we're going to be doing is doing the installation of this onto this Gen 5. The way that the piece is made, it's molded to match, so this contour matches the bottom of the rocker panel perfectly. When we place it up here, even with very little pressure and holding that flat plate flat against the bottom of the rocker panel, there is no gap at all. The entire length of this till you get to the very end where it separates a little at the exhaust, which is fine. But the rest of it is a perfect fit the entire length. I've got the rock guards on here that we picked up, the PVC, I guess, rock guards that we have on there, and this carbon fiber skirt comes right up against it. It's not bothered by it at all, so we're not going to have to do anything about removing that or changing it. And this looks like it's going to fit right on there real easily. All right, a word on how this is going to get mounted. So this is going to be put in with physical fasteners. The way that that Xtreme is doing this right now is these units have no pre-drilled holes. So we're gonna drill the holes out, and the way that they've been installing it, they've been recommending installing it, is putting it in with blind rivets or pop rivets, whatever you want to call them, coming up underneath, going through the panel, and then through the aluminum panel, and then riveting it in place so it stays there permanently. I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to put it in with some riv nuts, so that if I ever want to remove it for whatever reason, I can do so without having to drill out pop rivets. So I'm going to put it in there with riv nuts. So the idea with the washer is that it's going to come in on this angled portion, okay? And I'll likely do the same thing underneath on the bottom. But basically what we're going to do is that threaded washer is going to come in here, or rather that fender washer is going to come up in here, and it's going to give me a huge surface area against this flat to hold that screw down, or when I hold that screw down. And what that's going to do is going to basically increase the area that that's mechanically holding this in place. So if there is any pressure on it, that entire washer is going to take the whole load, as opposed to it being just the head of a screw that's going to be smaller. Okay, so bottom line is we're going to put that in there, and then that'll be threaded in place. I'm using button heads with Allen keys on the top, but you can use anything that you want. It doesn't really make a difference. It can be a hex nut as well. It's not going to be an issue in terms of clamps. So that's how we're going to do it. So now that I've gotten that, this is what this is going to do now is going to basically line up where this hole is going to end up being. So since this washer is going to be in place, like I said, I'm going to put basically a hole where this bend occurs here. There'll be a hole there. There's going to be a hole in the back over here by the on the back side, which is where the people are going to be getting in and out of the car. And then, like I said, there's going to be another one way up here. So in order to figure out where I'm going to drill that hole, how far up or down I'll drill it. Okay, I'm going to drill it to the lowest side that I can on there, where that surface area is going to be covered by the washer. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that washer as a guide to determine where I'm going to put the hole in here, top to bottom. what we're going to go with is 5 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then on the angle side, I'm going to go with 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that should be enough. So we are. There are 5 holes, basically 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the 3 holes along the angle side, and that'll be good. All right, so we've gotten a couple of the holes drilled here and here, and one here, and I already put in one of the riv nuts into there, okay, or one of the threaded inserts into there, and that's already crimped up into place. So I'm going to put in another one in here and crimp it. Now, if you guys, you can't see here, but you can see that I'm kind of hitting something. That's basically the insulation. This is basically the insulation underneath the exhaust. You have plenty of space. You're just basically pushing up on it slightly, so that's not going to be a big deal. And when the riv nut crimps down, it actually comes back down a little bit. So it really is not going to affect or impact anything, and it's not going to hit the exhaust. So all we're going to do is crimp this in. Okay. Remove the tool. And we have the next threaded insert in place. All right, guys, so the magic of video editing. We've now finished all the riv nuts insertions onto the sill. So if you notice, we've got one here and one here on the diagonal, and we have the 5 going down the side. All right, guys, so we're back. Nothing else shattering here. Basically, the holes that we had already drilled into place are all there. Everything should line up just fine, and we're going to put them up. We're going to put the piece up into the car. Now, when we were doing this, or when I was doing the installation, I was showing you how we were going to put it in there. So basically, what we're going to do is it's a 6mm nut with a very large fender washer. That's going to give me a nice, good, strong hold on there, and very small likelihood of any kind of flex on the piece. When you put in a pop rivet, the diameter of most pop rivets is significantly smaller than the washer. I'm going to put it in there with the washer. Now, if I was doing it with pop rivets, I'd likely pop rivet through a washer like this anyway. Just to be able to do it. And basically what you would do is you just get a pop rivet that would go through the washer, put it up in there, and then do it. The only issue with that I have is the permanency of it. I can't remove a pop rivet. You'd have to drill it out. So not quite what I want to do. So we're going to go with the fender washers and the screws. All right. All right, so we're back, and we've gone ahead and put on the skirt. The only thing really that we did was started threading in each one of the bolts along the bottom edge, and we basically fixed it in there really well. We use fender washers on every bolt. I'll show you that in a second, but if you see here, this is the gap, or lack of gap, and it fits real good right up against the rock chip guard, and then runs the entire length all the way until it cuts off right before the exhaust. And then if you want to see underneath, so basically what we did was we have big fender washers that we used with the bolts. I hand tightened them so that we can basically get those tied up against the aluminum railing, or the aluminum sill rather, and that's what we're left with. So what I did was, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm using 16 millimeters on the inside, and I'm using 12 millimeters when I'm coming in from the diagonal. So we're just going to line this up with where the screw goes in, and then just thread on that first one by hand. I'll thread them all in by hand actually, and that's it. That'll hold it up. But basically, so the gaps against the body panel are perfect all the way, running the entire edge against the body. There's no gap at all, none whatsoever. So it goes, fits really, really nice. The weave, that'll give you a nice look at the weave there. Again, same thing. He matches it pretty, pretty much perfect. With the weave coming back at a diagonal and sweeping back. If we go to the passenger side, it's exactly the same weave, with the weave sweeping backwards. So it actually looks really nice. It's a nice little attention to detail, and they're really well put on there. And again, there's a flex in it. Obviously, I'm flexing a piece of really thin aluminum, but there is very little play in that, in terms of thing. And I'm actually wrenching it on the longest piece. Obviously, when we come in closer to the pieces that are shorter, obviously there's no flex in there at all. And if we go up to the front, same thing, no flex. So it's a really, really nice piece. They did a great job on it, and installing it this way is just an easy way. And if you guys want to remove it, again, bottom line is, the only reason I did it with these riv nuts, it's a little bit more work, but at the end of the day, I did it so that if I ever needed to remove that for whatever reason, I could do it without having to drill out anything. I just have to remove these screws. All right, that's it.